This year feels worse. This year feels worse than the last 5 years I've taught. She repeatedly called me and threatened me with physical violence, which sent me into a panic attack.
These kids cannot read, they cannot write. There is no type of comprehension skills, no type of critical thinking.
No matter how little work they do, no matter how much behavior problems they will pass and move on to the next grade.
They cannot do anything on their own.
This is just your reminder to check in on your teacher friends because this shit is not easy.
He intentionally stood right in front of me, and we were probably about 2 inches away from him, rubbing his private parts in my face. And he did this with a smirk on his face.
As somebody that taught high school and basically educating our new young adults, we should all be scared. Every last one of us should be scared. These kids cannot read, they cannot write. There is no type of comprehension skills, no type of critical thinking. They cannot do anything on their own.
I just have a question. At what point did it become okay to blame educators for everything? I get it. There are some bad teachers out there, but most of us enjoy our job, enjoy teaching, and enjoy the kids. But at some point, everyone decided that everything is our fault. You have a bad kid in class or a troubling kid, you need to have a better relationship with them. Oh, a student crashed out in class? Well, maybe you need to talk to their parent more and bond the relationship with them, and that'll fix it. And don't get me started on admin that does nothing besides put a quick band-aid on it or give them a snack and then send them back to class. We have taken all the power away from teachers, given it to the students, and then said, hey, teachers, good luck. And they wonder why teacher burnout is at an all-time high and why our kids are not learning. Because you have taken this amazing job that we loved and turned us into babysitters.
Teachers are quitting mid-year again, at record numbers. Here's one of the reasons why. A student who wasn't assigned to me or my classroom was let into my room by another adult, a teacher's aide, and repeatedly ignored my direction and instructions to leave. Eventually, she repeatedly called me and threatened me with physical violence, which sent me into a panic attack. I called the office for support, and as soon as the dean of students showed up to my classroom, I left and I went to the stairwell to go cry and have a panic attack. Once I calmed down, which took my entire lunch, I was expected to go back and teach my classes because we had a sub shortage and nobody could cover my classes for the rest of the day. By the end of the day, the videos that the student took of me circulated amongst the student body, and I ended that day sitting at my desk feeling the most powerless and defeated that I've ever felt in my entire life. The student was not given a consequence that was fitting. She was sent home for the day. That was it. I received no apology, no restorative circle from the student or the adult who let them into my classroom, and the paraprofessional received no disciplinary actions. He stood in my classroom and allowed his student to speak to me in a degrading, violent, and disrespectful manner. After that class period was over, I had several students come up to me and say that they wanted to jump to my defense, but they were also afraid of that student and afraid of for their own safety. That's when I knew the profession I once loved was no longer the profession I needed or wanted, and I left a month later. And that story is not unique. Teachers aren't leaving because they don't care about the kids. They're leaving because the system no longer lets them teach kids. They're not allowed to teach self-management. They're not allowed to teach respect or accountability anymore. We are told to keep the peace, keep the bodies in the room. Some are even told to pass at 20%. Just get the kid the diploma. Pass them along so that the data looks good. But when we do that, we're not protecting the students. We're doing them a disservice because they are walking into a world that will hold them accountable. We could have taught them how to handle that with grace, empathy, and reflection. But instead, we're told to look the other way. Teachers quitting mid-year every single year is not an exodus. It's self-preservation. And deep down, it's heartbreak because they want to stay. The system is just making it so that staying is at the expense of yourself and your own family.
So I know for a fact that he did it intentionally. This was no accident. He had plenty of space to walk on the side of the door, but instead he chose to stand right in front of me, look down on me, and almost rubbed his parts on me. I did not even put my hand in front of him or anything. I instead went back like this because I didn't want to be accused of me touching his parts. So instead I went like this. And the other student who was speaking to me actually told him, dude, that's gross, because she saw what happened. She was my witness. Anyways, I said a lot of things to him and I asked him to please step away from me and to not ever come back into my classroom. He, of course, denied it and went finally into his classroom. I immediately called the teacher that I knew had him, and I gathered the information to call home. And this is why I'm making the video. It is so important that parents do their part. I want to tell you as a teacher, I will never take time out of my day to call and lie about your child, ever. And you best believe most teachers would never do that, okay? So if I'm taking the time out of my day to call you, it's because this actually happened. Luckily, the mom was very supportive and she immediately called him over to the phone to apologize to me. And he still had the nerve to deny it. He said he didn't do anything, he was nowhere near me, all these stories. Luckily, I had a witness, so, points for me. But mom she did the right thing of backing me up and helping him understand that what he had done was still wrong. And I praise this mom for doing the right thing and for putting him in his place because he knew better. This is an 8th grader about to go into high school, very soon to be an adult. If he does this as an adult, he is going to end up in jail. And he is lucky that I'm not pressing charges because that is harassment. And so I want to tell you, parents, if your child's teacher ever calls you to tell you that your son or daughter did something at school, please believe them because we have no reason to lie. Hold your child accountable and make them realize that what they've done is wrong and make them make it right. Because if you don't do that, if you don't take the necessary steps, when they in fact become adults, they're going to face the harsh reality. So anyways, this had never happened to me, and I definitely submitted a report to admin, and they are handling the situation. But again, parents, do your part. This mom did her part, and I appreciate her for doing that. She is doing her son a favor by correcting him right now. He still didn't take accountability, but she at least tried. Anyway, let me know what you think about the situation. What would you have done differently, maybe? Or what would you have done if this was your child?
First day tears, yeah, that's normal. 20-year tears, also normal, and that's the problem. No other profession normalizes breaking down in your car during lunch. No engineer cries in the bathroom because their paycheck doesn't cover classroom supplies. No lawyer fears for their life during a lockdown drill. Teaching in 2025 isn't just hard, it's brutal. Politicians slash funding weaponize us in their culture wars and then blame us for test scores. Parents expect miracles on a dollar store budget. And the public half think we're indoctrinating kids just for teaching them to think. This isn't sustainable. This isn't normal. And it sure as hell isn't okay. So why do we stay? Because every time a kid finally gets it, every time we make a safe space for a kid who has none, we know we're making a difference. No one else will. We cry, we break, and then we show up the next morning, coffee in hand, ready to fight for kids who deserve better than this broken system. That's not weakness. That's the kind of strength you'll never see from those people tearing us down.
There are so many teachers quitting right now in America, and I can guarantee you it's related to these 3 things. Student behavior and how there are no consequences for horrible student behavior. Number 2, no support from admin at all with the horrible behavior. And then number 3, the amount of work that teachers put in does not equal our take-home pay. And I know what you're going to say, but you get paid for summer and for your breaks. Honey, our salary is broken up into 12 months, but we only get paid for the time that we work. They just do teachers a favor and divide that by 12 so we get paid through the summer. But the amount of work that we do outside of the classroom, insane. Some of y'all wouldn't last a day in our shoes.
I'm a high school teacher. It is 4 weeks into the school year with students, and I am at my limit already. I am at my limit with being talked to and demanded at so disrespectfully, interrupted constantly, repeating myself countless times. This year feels worse. This year feels worse than the last 5 years I've taught. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I feel like I've seen so many teachers make videos where we are all ringing the alarm saying, this is bad. This year is not good. It's not good. We are struggling, and not a lot of us are going to last if this continues, because I think there's a reckoning of teachers realizing like, I actually don't deserve to be treated like and then every day wipe that slate clean and start on over as if it didn't happen. I teach high schoolers. I see it from videos of elementary school teachers and middle school teachers. I don't know when, as a society, we're going to wake up and say, our system is failing. Our students don't have basic respect or human decency. Teachers are done. Obviously, disclaimer, not all teachers, not all parents, not all students, not all schools. But I'm seeing way too many videos of teachers saying, I can't do this anymore. And we need to be taking that seriously.
I got slut-shamed by a group of my students last week. I was extremely emotional, and I actually had to take about 15 minutes to go cry in the bathroom because I was so disgusted and upset by their behavior. They're probably between ages 13 and 15. They're freshmen, and this girl comes up to me and she goes, hey, just so you know, they're saying that your outfit is not appropriate and talking about your ass. And I look at them and I'm like, are you actually saying that right now? Are you serious? And they were like, no, we weren't, but they were like laughing. I'm not going to infantilize them and say that they shouldn't know, because they should. They're 14. That's fucked up. But the worst part is, the school didn't suspend them or reprimand them in any way, because I think that behavior is like so normalized and it's dismissed as boys will be boys. But it was incredibly degrading and dehumanizing because I was just wearing pants that fit my body.
You know what's crazy? Teachers are breaking down. Not because they stopped caring, but because no one cares about them. They're having panic attacks, losing sleep, working hours after class ends. And for what? Half the kids don't even listen. Some scroll on their phones the entire time. They don't learn a thing, yet still get promoted to the next grade. During our time, if you didn't study, you repeated the class. We wrote full essays in 4th grade. Now it's copy-paste answers from AI. And when teachers finally say, I can't do this anymore, people call them lazy. This isn't teaching anymore. It's survival.
Now that I am no longer a teacher, thank God, I can finally say the things that have been on my mind all school year, okay? As somebody that taught high school and basically educating our new young adults, we should all be scared. Every last one of us should be scared. These kids cannot read, they cannot write, there is no type of comprehension skills, no type of critical thinking. They cannot do anything on their own. They expect everything to be taught to them. Well, I won't even say taught. They expect everything to be given to them. So in my class, we did this thing where I made them write once a week. So they would have some type of assignment where they would have to write at least a paragraph, meaning 5 sentences. 5 sentences. The amount of assignments that I got in with 1 sentence, 2 sentences, the amount of complaints I got with the whole 5 sentences, that's too much, that's too much. Can we do 3? Can we do 3? Isn't 3 considered a paragraph? Oh, baby. We are in for a wild ride, y'all. Every assignment that I gave them, I kid y'all not, every assignment that I gave them, there was a student that came to, several students that came to my desk and asked me to walk them through the entire assignment, the whole thing. But genuinely, the truth of the matter is, everybody is failing these kids. Everybody. The school board, with all these different rules, they're failing these kids. The principals or admin altogether, they're failing these kids, and they're failing the teachers because they're basically telling us that we had to just pass a child along just to keep these graduation numbers up. So everybody. Oh, and don't get me started on the parents. Like, I will call and say, hey, your child is failing, and the first thing is, well, why didn't I know about this? Probably because you didn't answer the phone. Probably because you didn't respond to my emails. On top of that, you have 24-hour access to Power School. When I tell y'all it is horrible, like, the parents that are here now are not the parents that we had growing up. My parents checked my Power School weekly. And still to this day, my brother just graduated high school a few weeks ago, and still to this day, his grades were checked. Everybody's grades were checked. So, unfortunately, it's not these kids' faults. I mean, yeah, they're lazy, but, like, what are you supposed to do when all you got to do is tell your mama, well, she failing me, and the school board is going to accommodate that parent? Like, it's crazy, y'all. We should be very scared for our new nurses, our new doctors, our new everybody. These colleges are going to have to start lowering their requirements. They're going to have to start lowering the fact, or just lowering everything, because the way that stuff is going now, the amount of kids that are going to come into these schools and they cannot read, they cannot write, they cannot do anything without AI. We should be scared. We should really be scared. Have a great day.
All right, teacher burnout. Let's talk about it. I never really understood teacher burnout until this year. And honestly, I'm really going through it. So I just thought to jump on and actually share my thoughts, because I feel like I've been so positive on my TikTok about teaching and just, feeling good and getting really, just feeling really good about the job in general. And I feel like now this year, I've really understood the flip side of things. And I don't know, it's just really taken me a while to actually digest everything that I'm feeling. It's really interesting how teaching can affect your life, even in a personal way, when you're feeling like this. And if I can just provide some context without going too deep into it, it is so important to have a good support system at your school, especially when you're dealing with like tough kids. Not a lot of tough kids, but some. And when you don't have that support, or you're just not feeling the vibe is right, it can really like throw you off. And I think I'm feeling that for the first time like in my whole teaching career.
I'm sad to say that this is the reality of what teaching has turned into. We're talking about a profession that people willingly go into because they feel that it is their calling, is now becoming a profession that is so draining and so stressful that teachers have to resort to taking prescription medication in order to get through their workday. Let me read this sentence from this article. It says that teachers are almost twice as likely to experience frequent work-related stress and nearly 3 times as likely to experience symptoms of depression than the general adult population. That is a problem. Let me tell you this. When your job begins to affect your mental and or physical health, that is a huge sign that it is time for you to figure out what your next chapter is going to be, because being in a job that is affecting you mentally and or physically is not sustainable, it is not normal, and it is not acceptable, y'all. So if you're a teacher who feels like I'm speaking to you, I want you to know that you are worthy of way more than a job that stresses you out and gives you anxiety to the point where you have to take medication. You are worth way more than that.
I'm a former teacher, and the main reason that I feel that schools are failing and teachers are quitting is actually too much empathy. I know. How can you possibly have too much empathy? Well, let's start with the fact that I have heard, not just my school, but many schools, you cannot fail someone anymore. No matter how little work they do, no matter how much behavior problems they are, they will pass and move on to the next grade. This is where the whole line of you need to do what's best for the kids. Always keep the kids' best interest in mind. And then this is controversial then, because I feel that what's best interest for that kid is that they fail and they don't pass to the next grade and they have to come back and they are embarrassed about staying back. But then they get their act together because they realize that lesson. While others say, oh my God, you cannot embarrass them like that. You cannot hold them back. Are you kidding me? Do you know what the repercussions of them staying? And so now 2 people who are saying, I have the best kid's interest in mind, but both have very differing opinions. Then student behavior is the exact same thing. We feel bad. We're like, this student is traumatized. We need to not remove them from the class because then they're not getting the same lesson that they should from all the other kids. But then why aren't we talking about that kid is throwing chairs and beating up other kids on every other day, and the teachers are being told, you need to just deal with that. We have nowhere for them to go, and so deal with it. So when a teacher is in that environment, when they know that safety is the single most important thing at all times, and now they are always on alert that their kids are unsafe just sitting in a classroom, or in my case, they were just in a gym, but at any single moment you knew that some kid could potentially really, really try to hurt some other kid. So now is your focus on teaching and the kids that want to learn? No. Your focus is on making sure that the other kids are safe and that few kids, in some cases, classes, is not going to kill somebody. For those of you who think I'm exaggerating, in just 1 year, I had a kid who was trying to stab people with scissors, another one who was throwing those cars, like put them in his pocket, and when he got mad, and then he was just firing them at other people. I had a kid who tried to push mats that were stacked up real high above my height, try to push them onto another kid. I had a 4th grader slap me in the face on the first day of school. I had a kindergartner who barely spoke any English, who had an iPad in a case, so she lassoed, and she almost hit someone in the head. I came around and blocked it. Otherwise, concussion, brain damage, who knows? And in all these instances, with those particular kids, they were dealt with or removed, I want to say, like that class period, and then they're right back in the next class. It's the same cycle all over again. This is why I didn't feel like a teacher anymore. I was a babysitter, making sure that the kids were safe. But trying to teach anything, out the window. And you have to realize that I do have empathy for these kids who are struggling. I do. But if we refuse to teach them the lessons that come with punishment and consequences, then we are teaching them that poor behavior is okay. We're teaching them that you don't have to try and you can behave poorly and you will still do well. That's a lesson that we are teaching them. And this is why I didn't want to be a part of it anymore. One of my more recent videos has now 180,000 views, and it's all about how AI is going to eventually help this issue because it could take over for teachers. I could be wrong in that being the case, but I'm almost hopeful that it does, because I know that what's going on in schools right now, teachers have had enough.
Let's be honest, teachers have had enough. They're underpaid, disrespected, and drowning in stress. They stay after hours grading papers no one cares about, while kids argue or stare at their phones. Some even get aggressive, and the admin just says, try to be more patient. Parents defend their kids no matter what, and teachers take all the blame. During our time, we actually respected teachers. We knew consequences. Now, everyone wants a reward just for showing up. Teaching used to be a calling. Now it's a breaking point.
I have shared a ton of different reasons of why I made the decision to leave the classroom last year, but there's been one reason that I've been hush-hush about. A lot of teachers are hush-hush about because I didn't want to ruffle any feathers or upset anyone, but I have really seen myself as a voice for a lot of teachers now that I've stepped out of the classroom. And so I think that this needs to be talked about more, and I think that this needs to be highlighted. And that is the toxic work environment that is being created by staff members at schools. And listen, I know that any profession, any industry has a few bad apples, but I think what is different about teaching is, well, one, we're supposed to be leaders of how to treat people, anti-bullying, how to be empathetic, how to be good human beings in the world. That's a huge role as teachers. And when we have leaders in those positions that do not embody that affects our students a ton. And also the thing about education and teaching is that there are no promotions, there are no raises, nothing like that. So people have nothing to lose when they go about their day treating others poorly, especially their colleagues. You know, if they're being rude to someone, what are they going to do? They're not going to get fired for being nasty to a colleague. There are no consequences because They're not worried like, oh, I might not get that promotion. I might not get that raise. No, they have nothing to lose by treating other people poorly. In my experience, I left the first school I taught at. I taught there for 4 years. I absolutely loved the kids there so much. I never wanted to leave them, but I ended up leaving that school despite everything else wrong with that school. I chose to go and seek another job because of how I was treated by one specific staff member there. I was bullied constantly. I was harassed constantly. And I told my admin for 2 years of what was going on and nothing was done. It was to the point where the woman that replaced me found my number from someone else and reached out to me and wanted my advice of how I dealt with the harassment and the bullying. That's how severe it was. That's how terrible this woman treated other people. And it pushed people out of these positions because of how she was treating them. So good teachers were leaving their positions and she was staying because admin did nothing about it. The school I went to, I would have students come up to me and say, hey, when you were absent yesterday, I heard a group of teachers talking about you in the hallway. And I mean, it was to the point where I received an email from one of these teachers that did treat me poorly, apologizing for how I was treated on behalf of so many people in my department because I didn't deserve it. And, you know, a lot of people go about this and get in their ways when they're in the school system because really teaching can be a very miserable profession and people take that out on other people and they find the easiest target to do so and they go for it. And the part about it that is not okay is that good teachers that want to be there, that have great energy, that have passion, are being pushed out of schools because of how they're being treated. And it's one of those things, like, it was not the sole reason that I left teaching, but it's one of those things where it's like just the cherry on top. Like, I deal with so much on my day-to-day, and the last thing I need is to be treated poorly by someone who is my equal or by anyone in general. Like, we're adults, we shouldn't be treating anyone like that, but someone who understands the profession and understands what is asked of us every single day. We need to be on a team. And I see teaching so much as competition sometimes and just people getting so nasty, and it brings out the bad parts of themselves. And unfortunately, it's pushing good teachers away.